So happy to have you once again for the Making Sense Conversations. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're coming back, this is the fourth week we're doing this. If you're coming back, welcome back. Making Sense Conversations is about building a community of financially empowered people in various areas, in your personal lives, in your careers, with your businesses. And it's building on the principles, and we've continued building on the principles on the Making Sense book, which we'll tell you about as we go along. So if you've not bought it, please buy it and read it, because you'll really, really enjoy these conversations that we're having as we expound more and more on what it is that we've actually been learning about. Today, we are speaking all things chama. But before we get started, I want to introduce my lovely co-host, Sheba.
Hi.
Sheba. Hi, Sheba.
Hi, Waceke.
How are you?
I'm good.
So for all, I know many of you know Sheba, but for those who don't, Sheba is actually the head of training and communications at Centonomy. And I know the topic we're discussing today is so close to Sheba's heart because of personal experience. And Sheba also leads the chama training at Centonomy. So Sheba, so glad to have you. And I know in a minute I'll ask you more about your story. But for those who were not here last time we talked about, and why it led to this particular conversation, we talked about the power of 5,000 shillings. And we had such an amazing conversation. So all of you who were there last time, you remember this conversation. And we talked a lot about what individuals can do with 5,000 shillings, but we also mentioned that 5,000 times 10 people is 50,000 shillings a month. That 50,000 times 12 people is 600,000 shillings a year. So we started already exploring. Now, when you stop thinking about just what you have and what you can do versus what you can do together, life can change and you can achieve things a lot faster and a lot more than you can do, because I don't think we were ever created to do things alone. At Centonomy, we're always telling people wealth is not created in solitude. You always need partners in different areas, whether a partner is to teach you something or whether a partner is to co-invest with you. I think years ago, the most power, even before I joined my own chama, the most powerful concept of chama I met is when I went to visit with a women's group in Kibera, and I heard their story. They started with 50 shillings a week, just 50 bob. You know, last time we were talking about 5,000 shillings. They started with 50 shillings a week. And they started by lending to each other so that they can just meet their daily needs. Sometimes it was food, sometimes it was school fees, but everyone committed to doing 50 shillings a week, whether that 50 shillings came from selling something, hustling something, asking your husband for the 50 shillings, everybody put aside the 50 shillings. And they started, let me lend to you to just sort yourself out. But as they've grown, by the time I was meeting them and they had been together for a couple of years, they were up to, some of them 1,000 shillings a week, others 5,000 shillings a week. We were talking about 5,000 shillings a month. 5,000 shillings a week. And they had done amazing. So what started as helping people sustain their lives became, we can help you create wealth. And a couple of women took me to their clothes shops, to their businesses that they had built over time. There's a particular lady who didn't have one shop. She had 3 clothes shops, each targeting different people. So that was a very profound moment for me to understand what can a chama actually do. And there are a couple of things I learned from them. You've got to know why you exist. That was so important. Why do you actually exist as a chama? That why is what took them from 50 bob to business owners. Even when we went to meet them, they were not asking for handouts, but they wanted the education. And because they had created a community, they were drawing on ideas and inspiration and networks of those around them. But they were very clear why they exist. They were women who wanted to get out, or who had broken the barriers about what they believed about themselves, and they wanted to continue on this journey. So it's very important, even in your chama, to start asking, why do we actually have a why? So Sheba, yes, chama, we want to make money. And even in Making Sense, we say money is a tool, but sometimes it is not the life, because more money is always money. So behind money, we always have to keep asking, why? It's a tool for the life that you actually want. So let me go to your very, very, very powerful story, Sheba. Why are you in your chama? Yeah. Why does your chama exist? Please tell us and what it has done.
Great. Thank you so much. And you're right. This is a topic, or let me just say, like an investment tool that I really believe in, especially if we understand how it works and if we actually leverage on it in the best way possible. And what is most important for me, or how I can say, I am actually in two chamas. One that I have been there for about four years and just a couple of months now, and one that I joined last year. And I'll give you the two reasons why both of them exist. Why I'm a member of both is because the goal and the vision is very clear to me. And even we will be talking about it later, that I am so sold on the vision. And that's a very key aspect of being a member of any chama or any investment group. The very first one that I'm very passionate about, and I've been a member for the last couple of years, our main reason of why the investment group exists is purely for us to own a home. And as I was saying last week, and I was telling you about it, that was the very first thing that spoke to me immediately. The chairman right now shared that with me the very first time I met him. And like the other chamas that I have been part of, most chamas, they are built on a social foundation. Either your friends, or you are in the same church, or you are in the same school, or you're in the university. What is very interesting is by the time I was joining this one, they were not in my social space in any way, but it was built from a social point where most of the members used to go to the same church. But that's not the main thing that drove me. What attracted me the most was the goal, because at that point, it was a year where I was thinking, I realized that I cannot be able, at that point, and even up to now, we were talking about a goal that I could not be able to achieve on my own.
Yes.
When he told me, what do you think if you are able to own a house or own a home in 5 years? I was like, is that even possible? First, as I was saying, I was just trying to find my foot in business, in entrepreneurship. I had just started I started an events business that is still going on right now as a marketing business. And I was trying to figure out, income was not consistent. I was not sure about my future. So even someone coming to tell me in 5 years I'm going to own a home, that seemed like a really huge dream. But when he started explaining to me that, we are not going to do it alone and we are going to come together as a couple of people, I got interested. And that's how I realized, yes, I am interested in that vision and I'm able to see it through. So that's when now at that time, and please note my words, at that time we were all contributing 5K. Remember when we were talking about the power of 5K?
Yes.
We were all contributing 5,000. And when I say all, at that time, we started quite a number of people. Started like the goal for the chairman at that time was like 50, even 100, because his dream was big. If like-minded individuals could come and just contribute 5K every month for the next 5 years, we could now start investing because we are working on with a pool of money. But that has since changed. Even the goal slightly changed a bit when we started realizing, it's not just about a personal home. What if we actually dreamt bigger and we were actually going to invest in proper real estate, proper hotels, the dream kept getting big, and a neighborhood. And for the last now 4 years, that's what we've been doing, and we are getting there slowly but surely. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is over the last years, we have invested in a lot of property that over the years has really increased in value. We were able to buy huge tracts of land, about 40-something acres, that surely I would not even have managed to buy an eighth on my own, but now I've been able to. And even now, as we get into the final part of it, where over the years now what happens, and we will be talking about it even in future, is what does a chama do with the money?
Yes.
Do you know, I have also found out that if your chama is not active in the business part of investing, you're wasting your time and you're wasting your money. Because during those 5 years, it's not that we are putting 5K in an account just sitting there. It's actually investing in different asset vehicles that we are creating or generating an income so that we are able to reach the goal. So the money is not just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot. My other group that I joined last year, it is because I was at a space where I was struggling. Sometimes the year comes in or some months come in and I don't have enough money to do some things. And right now for this second chama, our goal is very clear: to generate a consistent income for us every single month. Now we have committed to sticking it out for about 3 years. So 3 years we are not getting any income, but we are investing this money that we are contributing every month to various investment tools. And as of the third year, we are going to start getting a monthly income. So that will be an extra monthly income on top of my salary from the business, on top of my salary from Centonomy, on top of the other income from other things. Because now we are also realizing we can't just depend on one income, and we can see that even through COVID. But I can say that those two groups are fulfilling two key goals that matter to me and matter to the group, and we are seeing it through.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Excellent, Sheba. I think some of my experiences also with my chama have been very similar to yours. I was one of the founding members of my chama. And then we did a couple of years where we were trying to do everything ourselves, and we didn't at first have the kind of clear goal you had when you guys set out that this is a personal home. I think that is what I learned in my chama. And I think everybody who's listening in, and please tell us where you're listening from, and you can please put questions about as you listen to us, what you'd like to understand about your chama, that thing of having a very clear agenda. So we started a chama, like many people start a chama, because it was a good idea. We're like, we should invest, we want to make money. And I think at the time I started out, the main chama story that was out in society was Trans-Century. And I think the driving motto for every person in a chama was, I want to be the next Trans-Century. And there were many chamas at that time being started out with everybody, I want to be the next Trans-Century. So what happens with chamas? In the beginning, you start out with psych, don't you guys? You start out with so much psych because you're like, we've got it. And I think I had just gone into business. I also knew I couldn't invest a lot by myself. So I was like, if I can pool, and I think we were over 10 people at that time. With other people, this can actually work quite well. So you set up, at first, like many of your chamas, your bank account is even in personal names. I remember mine was the names were Waceke and Wamaitha. So actually, if Waceke and Wamaitha wanted to take themselves to Hawaii on holiday, they could easily have done it with no recourse to you.
Yeah.
So guys, are you operating a chama business account, a chama account, and it's in personal names? There's a huge, huge, huge risk to that. But for a while we're contributing. We started out with 10,000 shillings per month per person. And it was, we buy shares, and mostly the money sits in the bank. But at some point, you can start seeing contributions are wavering, attendance is wavering, there's lethargy. And we actually got help in doing this. We actually got somebody to come and talk to us so that we can agree what is the purpose of this chama. Because you've got to agree as a chama. Is your chama business or is it social? So we thought we had a business agenda, but we were operating social. Let's have our meetings in restaurants. Let's order food. When we come for the meeting, there's no agenda. So people first talk about their houses, they talk about work before the agenda of the chama has taken place. So we had to get someone who actually gave us the real stuff and said, you think you're business, but you're operating social. So let's start understanding, what does it take to have a business agenda? First of all, as Sheba was saying, a very clear objective. So for my chama, we decided that we are going to fund our retirement because of this chama. Yeah. So it could be that, but it could be so many other things that you can decide. It could be buy a personal home. It could even be we want to walk away in 5, you could travel. It could be we want to walk away in 5 years with X amount of money, with 5 million shillings each from this.
Yeah.
It could be our kids are going to be in college and we want this to be what gives college fees. Because if you don't get that buy-in from an individual level, remember, it's all great to pull together, but the individual has to feel what's in it for me to actually be here. Yeah. So I think a lot of chamas and statistics over time have been released, people saying how much money chamas are sitting with in banks. Right. Yeah. Because it's actually not moving, because they don't actually have that agenda.
And I'd like to add to that point you have just said. Do you know banks love chamas?
Yes.
Not so much because of what chamas end up doing for the people, but because they know that by the time people make a decision, it's 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, or even a year. So what they're doing, always remember, the banks are good, yes. But you see, the goal of the banks is how they make money is lending.
Yes.
And I always tell chamas when they come for training that don't just keep your money there, cause it to work.
Yes.
You know, because if you were on your own, you wouldn't take so much risks with your money. But banks love chamas so much because people take forever to make decisions, Waceke. And by the time they make decisions, the bank has lent people with that money, made profit, returned it. And that's the thing that all of us as Kenyans and even Africans, we need to understand. We need to leverage on our numbers to do more, not to just make other people wealthy.
And I guess even what we were facing in our chama, because of money being there and people can see there's money there, whenever something, and we're not talking about COVID situation, something small happened in someone's life. Let me not call it small, but anything, they'd be like, I want my contributions back. Mm-hmm. Because of not having money sitting in the bank account, they can see their money is there. They want their contributions back. And I guess that is also what differentiates a business versus social agenda. If you have a social agenda, you've gotten into this trap where people want their money back, you just give them their money back. Yeah. But a chama with a business agenda has rules as to how you can get your money back. When we went corporate and formed a company, it's now not just a matter of, you've been contributing 10K, it's now 10 months, you can get your 100K back, which is what we used to do. Yeah. But when we were coached through this, and this is what we teach people even in our chama training, it's like shares in a company. To get your money out, first of all, there has to be a time period. And it's about somebody else buying those shares at their value for you to actually come out. So people also stopped thinking that money in the chama was money accessible for anything and whatever. Yeah. There's no business. So I think we've got to get into the mindset of how can our chamas should actually operate like businesses. So when your chama is operating, contributions are keeping on moving back and forth, up and down, people are getting their money out. That's a social chama. So you've got to form a company so that you can it's actually about, as people contribute money, they're actually earning shares. Another thing we had to deal with, Sheha, in my chama, let's even just take these things, penalties. If you don't attend the meetings or you attend the meetings late, penalties. Yeah. If you don't contribute on time, penalties. Yeah. And we understood that people had issues, but there were also guidelines about when you stop contributing, what will actually happen. I personally remember, because I was in business at that time, and then I had to even transition to another business. For a whole lot of time, I couldn't make contributions. But because of what we had set up, I simply became a smaller and smaller and smaller shareholder of the company. We also removed this concept of equality. Yeah. So we had a minimum contribution, but if you wanted to actually contribute more, you could. It just meant that you're actually going to earn more shares.
Right.
And we also stopped thinking that we all have to make decisions. Honestly, having 15, 20 people making decisions, or we want to buy KCB shares, can 20 people actually make the decision? Yeah. It's actually not possible. Yeah. So we started electing people on investment committees who are then to actually make those decisions. So it's just a total shift in
restructuring
and
running it
mindset.
as a business it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like, it's interesting to also realize that we are all individuals when we come into this, and even for me, I remember there were 2 years very recently, and for me that was in 2016. Actually, 2017, 2016, Waceke, even raising that 5K. I know how sometimes it sounds like it's a little amount for some people. Even raising that 5K was difficult. And I remember just at that time talking to my chairman and telling them, I am not able. At the moment, I have so many loans, so many expenses right now. I'm not able to do this. And if you are still interested in staying in the group, when you have conversation, it makes so much sense. And it makes you feel like you're not so guilty dealing with this, because you don't feeling like this chama is just taking away from me. So one of the things I did is actually I just had a conversation with them. And when I was ready, I shared with them, this is how I'm going to catch up, because I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity that this business is able to offer me, right? Because some people leave just because something has happened. It doesn't have conversations. Conversations.
Yeah.
And Waceke, I'm just wondering, what would you advise people who are feeling like will they be able to deal with things right now, especially from a chama point of view?
I think that's a very good question. First, before I go there, Sheba, let me go back to something you just said, which I really want to emphasize on. You don't, chamas, I think when chamas start out and they say 5K, 10K, they all expect to move at the same level forever. Guys, listen up. We are all human beings. We are on different journeys, and our lives are going to go through different seasons. So you may start with, this is the contribution level, but circumstances in people's lives change. So you'll have somebody there who can start contributing 30K, but you'll have somebody there who something has happened and they can no longer contribute to the 10K. If you all insist on, let us move together forever, you're going to really limit. So you've got to leave leeway for, if people go through situations and they can't, let them get out. But you'll be shocked after 2 years, those same people are the ones who will come and drop 1 million shillings in the chama, which will take you to the next level. And then also what happens is people start earning more. And this has happened for a lot of chamas I've trained. People start earning more. They started off with a capability of 5K or 10K. Now they can do 30K. If your chama doesn't give them the ability to invest 30K when they can invest 30K, what are they going to do? They're going to move to another chama. So when you look at the chama, it's sometimes you've got to say, is it better to be 10% of something big or 100% of something small? I'd rather be 1% of something big. So let someone who can invest the 30K, put the 30K, because they're going to allow your chama to access investments that will earn more money, so that even you who's doing 10K, your 10K is earning more money. Then the day you can put 100K, come back and do that. Because it's not, just understand, you're there as people working together, not so that you'll always move at the same pace. It's always like, when I'm down, someone else is going to be up. That's the beauty of a chama. And it keeps the entire community or the entire body of the chama or the business of the chama actually moving forward. But Sheba, what you asked is very important. Yeah. In this season that we're in, COVID-19, yeah, what can chamas do for people? That's what you asked. So I think sometimes you start off as a merry-go-round, but you don't realize that the merry-go-round season is over. Yeah.
Let me even say something about this. And Shiko, I get it. And I hope that, all hope is not lost. But let me share with you something. MerryGoRound used to work really well years ago. This aspect of chama has really come through, has really supported very many people many years ago, because it used to be a way of saving. a way of saving for a rainy day for our moms, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. And it was really amazing when they started that out, because what that meant is, at the moment they didn't have access to banks, easy access to banks. They didn't have easy access to these mobile apps that you can be able to save money. And so it could have been easier to spend money and lose it. And that's why the merry-go-round started out. So let us just put aside money when it's my turn, give me at least it's a little bit more. But then now we have to move forward with the times. Merry-go-round right now doesn't work so much for you because of the way Shiko is saying. The price of bread or eggs 3 months ago is not the same right now. So even how much you contributed 3 months ago and then you get it the same amount right now, it really means you've lost a bit of that money because of inflation, because of the difference in prices of goods and services. And also you can imagine right now that if you're sending with your merry-go-round money with our mobile money applications, as Shiko is saying, you realize you sent 5,000 bob, someone is sending you the very 5,000 bob, and you have not considered the transaction costs. So ideally, even before inflation has been applied, you've already costed yourself some money. Yeah. So right now, the merry-go-round is not working so well, especially if your goal is to make money.
Yeah. Again, back to the
what is your goal?
What is the goal for you? And does it tie in with the goal of the chama? Yeah. We have a comment saying you've been in chamas a number of times and members not tend to be more passive. Even in projects, people are not pulling their weight. Thank you for this question. I think that was a big aha moment for our chama, because we were expecting everybody to be in the meeting, everybody to contribute. When we want to go see a piece of land, everybody goes. Everybody shows the same initiative. This is what we realized along the way. And I think this is what group dynamics is all about, yeah? You are not all going to contribute the same way. There are some people who will give money, they'll even give more money. But please don't expect them to be the ones who are hustling and going out and looking for the investments. Like when we founded it, we realized the founding members were the people who are hustling, going out there, traveling to Nanyuki to look for land, but not everybody else. And for a while, it was causing some resentment. But when we got an aha moment that not everybody, even in terms of energy and strength, is going to contribute the same way all the time. Yeah. We learned about this concept that companies they call them board of directors. Yeah. So even for your chama, let's say you're a chama of 10, choose 3 or 4 people who at this point you can tell they're more willing to do it than anybody else. And possibly they bring the kind of skill that you need for your chama. So maybe you have somebody who's investment driven or analytical driven. Maybe you have an entrepreneur and they're just bringing all these skills that you need to drive them. Give them and tell them, you guys, for the next 2 years, let us all agree, these are the decisions we are allowing you guys to make. But in consideration, because of you, we know you're doing over and above in time and effort. This is how we will reward you. So some chamas pay. You know how companies have board of directors allowances for them sitting and doing this? They start doing that. And many chamas may not be able to give cash, but you can say, if the company or the chama achieves this, we are going to give you X%. So in the company, they get bonus shares because you're appreciating the time and effort.
And
it pushes and keeps them incentivized. So if you've got those people who are nanganaing, please incentivize them, because without those structures, what tends to happen is you lose that very precious energy that was driving you.
And I'd like to add one more thing that chamas need to consider. That remember, your chama is supposed to enable you to achieve what you cannot do on your own. Yes. So if you realize that, like Doreen is telling, Doc Shiko is telling us, actually, can I tell you, Shiko, what you actually realized is you left because you realized what you guys were doing, you could easily do it, even maybe saving up on Mshwari and all the other places. You could do it easily. So you needed something that could push you. Secondly, remember that you are also doing other things. You're probably running your business, hustle, you're probably employed somewhere. So why are you expecting everybody to provide the same energy at the very same time? And yet you're supposed to be working for somewhere else so that you can make money to contribute to the chama. What am I saying? I am saying it's time for you to level up by even getting assistance separate from so if you have your board, your members, you have your board who are the visionary, the advisors, consider even getting an assistant, someone who can be assisting you. You know how some businesses have accountants who help once a month. They come and help once a month. Get an assistant. It can be an intern that's given a small allowance to enable you to keep things pushing. I can tell you one thing, Waceke, that my chama did a couple of years ago. We used to have the same thing where we say, Sheba, so and so, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of this, and you're in charge of this. And then I go back to the office. I'm so swamped. By the time I'm coming back a month later, I don't have anything to report on. So
because you have a full-time job, and so does all the chama members,
So we decided to take a leap of faith. And what the leap of faith was, look for a paid intern who we would pay an amount that we could afford at that time. And we say that's our opportunity cost as a chama. The role of this intern is to do the administrative stuff. So that now it can push us to move, and things get to move. We focus on making the investment decisions, but all these other administration things that need to be made and that usually cause chamas to stall continue to move. So chamas need to consider this.
Excellent. I've had several experiences with chamas on this, and I want to now talk to the individual in this chama, the concept of value. Why in chama, and guys, you guys are in, thank you for everybody who's sending in their questions. You're in chamas. What happens the day you go and propose, can we increase our contributions by 2K, 3K, 5K? The backlash, the resistance, it's huge. But yet at the same time, that person, the same night even, will go and spend that 2K out. The same day will spend that 5K. So even as an individual, we've not understood the value of the chama. And it goes back to what we're saying. Has your chama understood what is in it for me? Yeah. Now, in the book Making Sense on page 58, actually, I talk about financial belongings. Guys, financial belongings. And many times when we're doing Centonomy, we ask people what are their assets. They have completely forgotten. And sometimes people say nothing. And then I've talked about money in your chama is part of your financial belongings. In fact, it is should be in your balance sheet as an asset. And on page 61, I talk about Wangare, the way we act like Wangare, who we buy shares, like people have bought shares in the IPO, and then they forget. Money in the chama has become that kind of thing for many people because of not understanding what is the value for me as a chama. So I just want to illustrate the things even Sheba has been touching on as we do this, about big thinking for your chama and what you should actually be dreaming your chama can do for you.
Yeah.
So just confirm you can see what is on screen. You can see the screen?
Yeah. Can see it here.
So this first slide, I'm just saying this is the status of most investment groups, yeah? You have contributions. We're making contributions, correct? Then those contributions become the cash flow of the chama. The chama makes money through contributions, yeah? Those cash flows hopefully are used. There's some expenses you have, like the expenses you're talking about, Sheba, the intern. Yeah. And you start those expenses at an opportunity cost, because you can be complaining about paying an intern 5K or 10K, but what you're losing by none of you having the time to run around is a lot more. And then the same cash flow is also used for assets. Yeah. Then if you have any liabilities, it is funded through the same way. Now
loans,
this is
that is
yes, loans. So this is the status of a lot of chamas. This is the as-is situation. Now, what we want to do is, that is not sustainable forever, guys. At some point, there's also contribution lethargy. You cannot be contributing for 20 years and you're not actually seeing what this is actually going to do for you. So we now must move to the next level of chamas. Yeah, what do you want your chama to actually do for you? And this may help us resolve the lethargy we are seeing from individuals. Imagine if your chama can reach here, where it has assets, it has shares, it has property. And we put that property there because, as we were saying before, your chama should actually enable you to do the things you cannot do by yourself. You can do money in a savings account by yourself, can't you? Yeah, you can. So it's not that, it's assets that, you see now it's no longer contributions, that will give you cash flow, that will then meet the expenses and any liabilities from that. So even at that point, if you've all said this chama is my retirement plan, it means that the chama has enough assets to generate money to be giving you guys your monthly income for your retirement. Guys, this is what your chama must become for you, even to you as an individual. And that's why we've also got to address, sometimes the individual doesn't want to do the 2K, 5K because of their spending habits. And in Making Sense, we speak a lot about the value of a little money and what it can actually do. So you may be complaining about a 3K increase, but you're spending that on eating out and things that don't give you long-term value. Yet if your chama had, so it's the responsibility to come together and have this very important goal, but it's also the responsibility on the individual to get their relationship with money right and their thinking with money right, so that this can actually help them achieve the dreams. Yeah.
Great. So Waceke, you've talked about, it's interesting. So when we are talking about how the chama is supposed to enable me to do things I cannot do on my own, clearly what we are talking about is long-term.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that we are not saying, so next month munanilipa pesa ngapi.
No.
We've ever been in such a situation in the chamas have been where we say, guys, we are coming in so that we're able to do more over a long time. Then a year later, someone is saying, come give me back my money. You have to make sure as an individual you're invested to the vision. So anyway, as we are investing on a long term, Patricia Wamboi is asking, how does one keep members engaged for the long haul? Because anyway, to achieve these big goals, it's a long haul thing. How can a chama celebrate small milestones as they await the long achievement?
I think what I've learned along the way is, it's just the same way a company, people work in a company, but every so often the company will have team building and they'll have end of year office party. Now the end of year office party is not the core business of the company, but they will celebrate. So I guess figure out as a chama what milestone. So when we're saying business chama, it doesn't mean you ignore the social aspects that make people work well together. It could be, first of all, like one thing, we went on training together as a chama. And I can tell you it completely changed our mindset when we did that. So even in this season, because Sheba, we had started talking about what can chama do for its members during this season. One of those things is training. How about we use this time when we have a bit more flexibility in when we work and what time to say, hey, can we get training to put us on the right track? Even training, even if it's not just financial training like the one Centonomy offers, it could also be, let's read the book together, Making Sense. Because I say it's about people as individuals coming together and taking responsibility on their own personal financial life that will resolve that. So we know there are a lot of book clubs that have read the book together. How about your chama say, let us put this as a reading together? Beyond the money, maybe people are struggling emotionally now. Maybe we need to somebody to talk to us about well-being. And I think even from a structural perspective, it's also just saying, I think what has really helped our chama is also having a calendar and saying our quarterly meetings, this is when they are going to be, so that people can plan themselves accordingly. And Sheba, we do have that intern you're talking about. He's no longer an intern. He became a full-time employee.
Even as
our chama is a full-time employee with NSSF, NHIF, PAYE, all that. And he sends us updates, investment updates. He sends us updates at least every month. So he sends us even what our individual contribution is worth. When you start seeing your investment of started 10K is now worth millions. Even you You
Get
really want to attend the meeting. So those are different ways, but I'd also encourage people sit together as a chama and ask. I want to address this question Mercy is asking, because I think somebody else was asking a similar question, if I'm not wrong, not agreeing on a project to do. You are 10 people. Mercy, in the beginning, we said we are debunking and we are removing this myth of everybody is equal.
Yeah.
For a chama to move forward, you cannot all be decision makers. 10 people trying to make a decision is a recipe for disaster. Yeah. Elect the people who for this season are actually going to make the decisions for you. So what you need to do as a chama is, once you've agreed on the goal, yes, you're contributing 1K. What is the goal? Even if the goal is an amount of money, and say by the end of the year, we want to have a value of 100K or 200K, agree on the goal. Yeah. Once you've agreed on the goal and the areas that you would like to invest in, the everyday decisions, please don't wait for 10 people to actually agree on that. Yeah. Because it's simply not going to work. Even companies operate, it's not everybody who makes the decision. Miriam is asking, is saving chama money in money market beneficial? No, because money market people can do as individuals.
You can easily. And I want to say something. And Waceke, we are planning for a chama training, a chama webinar training very soon. And we are going to do a deep dive into investments. Miriam, the answer to your question is, every time as a chama, when you feel like you want to invest money, whether it's in a land, whether it's money market, there has to be, there's something what we call investment objectives. Yeah. Where you put your money or where you invest your money has to be driven by the objective for that money. By the time we choose that we are putting money in money market, and I usually like to give this example so that people can understand. There's a time we put money as a chama in a money market. Remember, money market is it's not long term. Unapata pesa kidogo sana. So the only reason to keep money safe, and the goal was for that, to keep money safe, because we knew in 90 days we needed to finalize a plot we were buying. But we didn't just want that money to sit in the bank account. So we asked ourselves, what was the reason for investing that money? And guys said, it's because we want to keep it safe so that in 90 days, we have enough money to buy the land. So that's when we put money in a money market, because we needed it soon. So Miriam, going forward, every time you make a decision about where are we investing the money, it has to be driven by the reason or the purpose for that money. There's a point I just want to clarify so that she doesn't understand me wrongly, where Lydia is saying, Sheba, how does your chama for getting an extra? I didn't say monthly income now. I said 3 years from now, 4 years from now, we want to be able to be getting a proper monthly extra income. So the money that we are contributing right now, 15K every month, you decide how much. It is because we are investing it in places so that 3 years from now, we are able to start getting a monthly income. So we are building assets right now based on the way Waceke has said. We are currently investing in assets that we know are going to start generating an income a couple of years from now. So it's not a merry-go-round, because merry-go-round is the one for Shika, this is your turn. Shika, this is your turn. Your money has not grown in any way. And by the way, that one you can do it on your own and get some little interest.
I guess someone is asking, is merry-go-round useful? Just back to what Sheba, you've said. Think about merry-go-round. It's almost like a savings plan, because it goes around and then I get back exactly what I put in. So the time I've seen merry-go-round is people feel that they do not have the discipline to keep money in their bank account and save it. So at least merry-go-round will enable that money to stay. So at least by the time you get back, you actually have savings. So if it's about savings discipline, and depending on how you structure it, the merry-go-round can work. If your agenda is short-term saving, if your agenda is we want to create wealth and financial freedom, merry-go-round is actually not the one that is going to work. And I just want to throw out some figures for people so that they understand what a chama can actually do. If you're 10 people contributing 10,000 shillings, in 10 years, your chama value will be worth 20 million because, and then you're accessing investments around 10%, which last week we even said that is the MRK, that is bonds. And we'll go into that another time. Yeah. Now, if your chama, the same chama is doing investments that are higher, and because you're not in a chama to do emakiba, because emakiba you can do by yourself, and you're starting to go for big things, projects that you can actually do. My chama, we even ended up in sheep. Yeah, we own sheep at the moment. Yeah, you can earn a lot more money. Taking that chama, instead of being worth 20 million shillings, can be 34 million shillings. And this is if you're just increasing your contributions by a little bit every year. So that starts to give you the kind of value. We're just saying 10,000 shillings per member in a chama of 10 can add up to can be over 30 million shillings. Imagine if you started 10 years ago and your chama is sitting with a value of 30 million, what it can do for you today and in the environment that we're actually talking about. But that power of pulling together and continuously reinvesting the returns, and we teach about this in Centonomy, a concept called time value of money, is what is going to get your chama to work. So this withdrawing and pulling out and treating it as a merry-go-round is what is going to make your 30 million shillings be 2 million shillings at the end of 10 years. Yeah. Right. So that discipline is there. Guys, please remember there's a difference. Saving is just putting money in the short term because I will need it in 3 months for things that are of personal use. I mean, the merry-go-round because in 3 months I need money for school fees. That is saving. What I've just described now, where you put money to work for you and your 10,000 shillings becomes 3.4 million shillings. That is investing. Investing is growing. And what we are saying, and the aim of today is saying, when you invest together and not just about money, you bring in money, yes, ideas. You have people sitting in chamas. One is a lawyer, one is in finance, one knows IT, one knows marketing. You start bringing those skills together, and in a structured manner, you're going to actually do a lot more than you can actually achieve by yourself. Yeah.
Geoffrey is saying chamas also work well if you agree not to take money out even when a member leaves. They get someone else to replace them, but shares remain intact. Taking out money in a chama is a killer. And that's true. And I say, but always remember, if it is my money, please, msikose kunirudishia. Just make sure we have set up structures on how we are going to deal with that. And what you have said there, Geoffrey, is about, so what is a structure that we are going to put to make sure that in case someone chooses to leave, how will we deal with it? And I hope one day, Waceke, we'll talk about structure, we'll talk about management, and I hope we're going to deep dive on that one day.
Yeah, we will. And I think, Shaba, there's some people asking about Centonomy's chama training in the webinar. Yeah. Maybe you want to mention a bit about that?
Yes, we are currently planning for it, even with really cool partners, and we'll be inviting all of you. So please keep checking our pages for the dates. We are just firming up on the dates, and we'll be having a really huge conference, a good conference around how can you invest, because I'm seeing so many questions about is investing in T-bills and bonds. Investing in investment tools is a good idea. During this chama webinar, we will be doing a proper deep dive on how do you select the right investment. So make sure you tune in on our pages for us to discuss that. We will also discuss how to create a vision.
Enrique, long-term vision. I just want to actually say, when you do take your chama this way, just accept you may lose also some members, or you also may decide that you're not in the right chama. And I just want to tell guys, even at this point, you could be seeing reasons why your chama can now improve. And I hope this has been useful in that regard. But you could also be thinking, by the way, either we are going to go on this journey and we may lose a few people. And I think sometimes that is when the difference between a business agenda and a social agenda comes in. When you go and do this long-term vision, just accept there will be some people who may not fit into this long-term agenda. We also said you don't have to be equal. So you can decide this is the minimum investment everybody must make, but we're also going to allow for people to actually invest more and actually earn more shares in the company. Kate, how you track contributions and shares, this is something now you start using professionals to do. Yeah. So you could have somebody or hire the every month is tracking what somebody contributed. But if you're a business and you're having a business agenda, you are going to use the services of auditors who will audit your statements every year, and they're going to be able to actually help you with who owns what shares. It's very important that you have that, because when you go to banks and you want to borrow money to do bigger things, these are the kind of reports that they're actually going to ask you for. So,
and just to add on that, when we'll be doing the webinar, we'll be also just exploring the various financial management tools that are available for our chamas to be able to use. And often, I like something you said earlier, Waceke, about your group at the moment. You usually get real-time updates about how things are doing. So are there certain tools that exist that could support chamas? There are, and we'll be talking about them in that webinar.
Yeah. So I hope, guys, this has allowed you to understand what your chama could actually do. I'm going to encourage all of you who are in chamas, please read this book together, because the concepts will not only help you as a group, but they'll also help you as individuals. So sometimes the individual issues people are facing with debt, managing money, that they cannot bring to the chama. But today I talked about something in the book called financial belongings. And we often forget that our investment in the chama is actually an asset. So remember, it is an asset. And what we want to do next time for you is continue on this discussion of financial belongings, not just for everybody in your chama. And whoever is in your chama who missed this conversation, please tell them to join into the next one, but also for everybody there as individuals. We're going to talk about something called financial belongings, your assets and your liabilities, because I know once you know what your assets are, you will start to understand, this is chama, this insurance I have, this SACCO I have, these savings I have, these shares I have, where do they fit into the long-term agenda? Because even with chamas, I realize people are just investing, but they don't understand when we're buying shares or when we're buying property, where does it fit into our long-term? So whether you're a chama or an individual, you've got to start understanding your financial belongings. And then these debts, what do I do about these debts? Which ones are the clever ones? Which ones are the ones? And especially in this period we're in, you really want to arrange that, clean out your financial closet as much as possible. So your financial belongings, it's a whole chapter in Making Sense. And that is what we will actually be looking at next week. How to get the book, Making Sense, is on screen. Someone asked from Kisumu how they can get it. Please, yes, you can. Please call that number 0715-085-777, and you will be told how we can get it to you. You can also buy it online at Rafu Books and on Amazon. And of course, those of you who are in Nairobi, you can go to Bookstop, Africa Book Hub, Prestige Bookshop. Please note all our delivery teams and our bookshop partners are taking correct precautions in keeping their customers and our customers safe during this period. Sheba, I know you have something to add before we let people go.
Yes, please remember and please write it down if there's anything extra you've gotten from this session. Your chama, your investment group, is supposed to enable you to achieve what you cannot do on your own.
Absolutely. And remember, just because we are in this very hard period as a chama doesn't mean you stop working. In fact, for those of you who are sitting with money, isn't this the time that you're going to find investments that are cheap, that can give you those returns to achieve those numbers that we were talking about earlier and even more. So whether you're offering your people support in terms of emergency money, whether you're offering support in terms of empowerment, or saying, guys, let us be bold and let us actually invest, your chama should not stop working, even if in this COVID-19 environment at the moment. So guys, it has been a pleasure once again to have you. This conversation will continue later on. I think there's so many ways, but we really, really hope you have found value from this conversation. Please do join us again Friday, 2 p.m. Please read the book, Making Sense. It has got so much information that even when you do come and join us on this platform, you'll be able to engage and ask the questions that now put you in the right direction. So please do go out and get the book and have a lovely weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.
Bye.